Hey everybody, I'm John Granado. That's Lance Zerline. You can hear us mornings on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Hit subscribe. If you haven't yet, get all our content here at SportsMap HOU. Lance, C.J. Stroud, the betting favorite to go number 1 overall to the Panthers. Is it a foregone conclusion that Bryce Young is the second pick?
I'd say yes. I know we're not supposed to think it is, and it doesn't do you any good for everyone to know who you're going to draft. I think the answer is yes. I think the ownership, first of all, the team knows they need a quarterback. They added Case Keenum. I get it. They've got Davis Mills. That doesn't those moves in and of themselves do not preclude you from drafting quarterback. It may be enough to make teams wonder if you're willing to do that and then do whatever you do this year and then play quarterback next year. You now have that as plausible deniability. But one would think that Carolina's already let it, they're already leaking it out there that they'd be willing to trade back if the right offer came up. I don't buy any of that. Everyone wants to have that kind of stuff out there. The fact is Carolina moved up because they know they like at least one and probably two quarterbacks. But I think it's one quarterback they've decided on. And the reason they said, well, they haven't really decided yet. The owner and the head coach like different teams, just in case they can get different players, just in case they can get Houston maybe to trade up and give them, something and they still get the player they want. But Houston's going to sit tight. They're not going to talk. And I think when it's all said and done, if Stroud really is the pick, then Bryce Young, as we talked about after they beat the Colts and we're not going to be drafted first, there was still a chance that Bryce Young was going to be the second pick. And I think he will be. I cannot see them skipping on Bryce Young.
No, okay. Well, let's say the opposite is true. Bryce Young is number 1. Is C.J. Stroud the obvious pick at number 2?
I mean, in theory, yes, but I do think the David Mulgeta situation complicates it. David Mulgeta has taken a quarterback for the Texans, and at least I don't know that he, had Deshaun Watson do this, but Deshaun Watson, while David Mulgeta represented him, took the Texan signing bonus, and then right after that season, before the contract even started, demanded a trade, was going to sit out. We know all this. For whatever reasons he said he was upset, he forced his way out of Houston. Not only did they give Deshaun $27 million that he didn't have to pay back, they also got hit with a salary cap hit when they traded Deshaun Watson. So this is not the first player that David Mulgeta has had do this. So I think there's at least a chance that the Texans are not real excited about dealing with the quarterback. I do think they'll draft a quarterback if they think he's that good, regardless of agent. They will work with the quarterback, but I don't know if it's the same lock if it's C.J. Stroud looking at them at 7 as opposed to Bryce Young at 7.
Look, owners can't be happy. I don't know if it's just the Texans. There's a lot of owners that can't be happy with David Mulgeta and what he's doing, the crap that he's pulled so far with Ramsey and with Deshaun and Ngakoue too, right?
I think Ngakoue.
Yeah, I mean, so this is just it's over and over and over again. I don't know that you can trust him, and I agree. If it's C.J. Stroud at 1, I could certainly see, yes, Bryce Young is probably a 95% favorite. But I don't think Stroud is a big favorite at all at number 2 if Bryce Young is number 1. And look, this is a make or break for Caserio. After the Stingley pick, after the Green pick, after the Davis Mills, the Brevett Jordan, I mean, he's got to hit. We saw a guy who was humbled in the postseason press conference like we've never seen him before. He was always thought, I don't know, he gave off the impression with the way he talks and the double talk and everything else that he's the smartest guy in the room and you're not worthy. That's not what we saw here. I don't know, maybe behind the scenes you've heard something about, is he approaching it different? He said he was going to get more advice from other people this offseason. This guy has got to do something in this draft. Otherwise, I could certainly see the writing on the wall for him.
Well, I think the power dynamic has shifted if DeMeco Ryans wanted it shifted. I mean, DeMeco may stay completely out of personnel. I don't know. But you have to get a defense. He can't be completely out of framing the personnel because DeMeco's got to say, look, we need this kind of guy at linebacker. We need this kind of guy on the edge. This is what I like from my traits on my defensive line, my cornerbacks, my safeties. So obviously he's going to have to work. Nick Caserio has to work hand in hand specifically with Bobby Slowick and the offense coordinator and DeMeco Ryans. And so I think that how he works with those guys could go a long way in whether or not the Texans want to stick with Nick Caserio, because you know that if I'm not saying D'Amico's trying to do this, but if D'Amico Ryan says, I want to go with my guy, whoever that might be, as the general manager, I think the McNairs would be okay with making a switch so that the head coach ends up getting the power structure.
Let's say they disagree and Caserio goes his way, says, listen, I got to make this pick because I believe in it, and that pick doesn't work out. Boy, it won't be long before he's out the door. It won't be long before he's out the door, too, if he screws this up, especially with the number 2 overall pick.
Correct.
With these high draft picks. I mean, he's got to hit.
They need results.
Absolutely.
They need results from last year's class and maybe even this year's class this year.
Absolutely.